Fam, I need everybody to take a deep breath and put your I know ball hat on tight, real tight, because the internet been playing in our face. And now we got a head coach trying to remix history like game film don't exist, okay? And then got some little jokers trying to support and push narrative. But let's walk through this. Let's walk through this together. We're gonna walk through this real carefully. Let's walk through.
Where she had some trouble late in that game at Vanderbilt on Sunday. And she confessed to Coach Mulkey after the game. She goes, I've never been on the floor late in the game. At South
Listen to the story they tell.
In those late game, tight game situations. So she still has some growing and maturing to do, as good as she is.
And Coach Mulkey, though, she didn't even realize that until she told her, she was the spark plug.
Turner, speaking of spark plug, puts a charge into that.
Lay ain't got no late game experience, what she told Mulkey, okay? This is what she told Mulkey. No late game experience. She ain't been on the floor. Listen to this, y'all. Listen, check this out.
And I want you to hear what she said.
Hear what she said.
Because it was like, wow moment for me.
A wow moment. Listen, y'all.
Take away what she does offensively. So what you try to do is make her understand the value defensively is as important, if not more important, than what you do offensively. Especially late in the games.
Y'all listen.
And her response, very respectfully, is, Coach, do you realize in my years in college, I've never been in a game late?
What?
I'm never on the floor late to try to help a team win a ball game.
What?
So it's my job.
It's her job, y'all.
To teach, to make her get better, to make her understand the value of, I can't sub you offense, defense. We need you to do both. But what a powerful comment when she said, Coach, I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better. I know I gamble. I take chances. I get a little bit fatigued. Well, it's easy for me to say, take her out, get her out. And in that next transition basket, she might score for you. So it's a fine line between making her get better and understanding she's never had to play late in a ball game and be disciplined on the defensive end.
See, the shot taking got to stop. Okay. Now, okay, I'm gonna get into what I gotta say. But before I get into what I gotta say, I want to, cause see, this, I'm not coming up here talking without receipts. Okay, I'm not coming up here talking without receipts. So I'm gonna show some receipts. Let's keep walking through this, and then I'm gonna get into what it is I need to say about this whole thing. Okay. So let me walk through some receipts. Okay, because here, let's check this out now. Lay here on the floor. We're gonna watch this a few times. Look, 1.1 second. That's Lay there with the red arrow. This is the end of the game. Okay, not having a ball in her hand, but definitely on the floor in a late game situation. That's Lay right there. If you didn't see it right there, and then look, it's 0-0 right there. When Camilla hit that shot, it was 1.1 second. Look, that's Lay right there. She was still she didn't come off the bench. She was on the floor right there. Okay, I don't know. Okay, that's Lay coming on the floor for this South Carolina Maryland at the end of the quarter here, fourth quarter. She was still on the floor. 11.5 seconds to go right here in Maryland. She's on the floor. They fouled her. She shot some free throws. Look, 10.4 seconds. Look, this is Lay. She's still there. Okay, this is Lay still at the end of the game. So I want y'all to know, like, this is, Lay still coming off the floor. This was Lay. So she was there, okay? And she's been there. She's been in these situations. Lay's been in these situations, right? So let's stop right there, because the way the MiLaysia Fulwiley never been on the court at closing time story got repeated, that ain't coverage. That's a lie with a goddamn microphone. Kim Mulkey, you knew what you were doing with the word never. Never isn't nuance. Never is a shot at Coach Dawn Staley at South Carolina's development at the standard. And Lay, I'm going to say it with love and smoke, though, fam. Don't let people use your name to rewrite the program that built your pressure muscle. Because see, we got receipts, not vibes, receipts. Sweet 16. I think that was the Sweet 16 versus Maryland. Season on the line, tight game late. She dropped 23. She hung 11 in the fourth quarter. That's literally closing time with the lights all the way on. Tennessee got loud. She sparked that run. LSU in the SEC tournament title game. LSU, Kim, with your own eyes. You talked about her beating you. She took over and left with the MOP. National championship stage. She's part of a bench unit that flips the whole game. So miss me with never. And to the media room. Yeah, I'm talking to y'all. See, how come nobody made them name the games? How come nobody said, hold up? We've literally witnessed her closing. We've seen her in time and score possessions. We've seen her out there late. Why were y'all scared to call out that lie when the bullshit was sitting right on the table in front of everybody? See, stop the revisionist history. Stop the weak shots at Dawn Staley in the University of South Carolina women's basketball program. It's sad to watch people take cheap swings at excellence, especially when the film is sitting right there, undefeated in the truth. So, boom, y'all, let's talk about it. Kim Mulkey went on record and said MiLaysia told her she has never been in late game situations on the court. And I'm not going to pretend like that's just a little misunderstanding. Matter of fact, how I know it wasn't a misunderstanding is because I waited to respond to see if somebody was going to come out and say, I misspoke, I misunderstood, any of that. Because what that statement is really trying to do, whether folks want to admit it or not, is slide a weak little shot at Coach Staley, at the program, at the development, at the structure, at the whole South Carolina don't prepare guards narrative that people keep trying to resurrect like it ain't been buried under banners, rings, and receipts. See, and the gag is the receipts ain't feelings. They're documented. They're dated. They're televised. They archived. MiLaysia Fulwiley, has been on the floor in late game moments in tight games, rivalry games, tournament games, and literal championship moments. She's been trusted, yanked, coached, reinserted, empowered, and crowned. That's development. That's real. So if we're going to do this, we're going to do it the right way. We're not doing hot takes. We're doing history. We're doing context. We're doing film-based truth, because the contradiction is loud. If Lay never had late game experience, then how she win the SEC tournament MVP while closing out LSU with the ball in her hands? How she a key piece in the national title run where the bench demolished Iowa? How she put South Carolina on her back in March against Maryland and scored 11 in the fourth quarter? How she sparked game-turning runs in hostile gyms like Tennessee? How she literally got benched early at North Carolina as a freshman, then got built back up into a closer. So now we're not letting that never slide past the group chat. See, we're about to walk it down season by season. So it's impossible for anybody to hide behind vibes. And by the time I'm done, the only question left won't be, did she have late game experience? The question will be, why was that lie even necessary? Bam. What's up with the squad? It's Cess, your favorite auntie with Uncle Tendencies, and welcome back to Cess Talk Sports. Shout out to my loyal fam that keep pulling up. And if you're new around here, welcome to the community. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you never miss a drop. And everybody, go ahead and like, comment, share, and hype this video so I know you pull it up when it's done, okay? Let's frame this properly. Kim Mulkey is quoted saying Fulwiley told her she has never been in late game situations where it is time and score and you got to have the ball in your hands on the court. That's not a small statement. That's not she wants more touches. That's not she wants to be the primary. That's not she wants to start. That's a direct claim that her previous program, Coach Dawn Staley's program, did not provide her with high leverage reps. And the only reason you phrase it like that is because you want it to land like an indictment. It's recruiting propaganda dressed up as concern. And what makes it nasty is the word never, because never invites people to rewrite South Carolina as a place where guards just run wind sprints past the post and sit down when it's tight. And that is not just wrong. It's lazy. It's disrespectful. It's ahistorical. So now we do what South Carolina always does when somebody get cute. We pull out the receipts. Now, let me be fair for a second, because sometimes people use late games like it only mean one thing. Some folks mean final minute, tie game, isolation at the top, take the shot. Some folks mean final 5 minutes. Can you execute? Can you protect the ball? Can you get stops? Can you make free throws? Can you manage pace? And then there's the real definition, the one coaches live by. Late game experience is not just taking the last shot. Late game experience is being on the floor when the game is breathing down everybody's neck and your decisions have consequences. It's when you can't hide. It's when one bad defensive rotation gets you beat and one strong possession gets you crowned. Coach Staley has always coached that way. And we have proof, because a freshman, Lay, did get benched in a tight game in North Carolina for defensive lapses. That's not she didn't play. That's coaching. That's consequences. That's standards. And then days later, Staley put her back out there in another close environment and let her respond. That's how closers are built. Not by handing them a cape and whispering compliments, by putting them in a fire, pulling them out when they burn the house down, and sending them back in when they learn how to breathe. So if we being honest, South Carolina didn't avoid giving Lay late game experience. South Carolina gave Lay the kind of late game experience that comes with accountability. And that's the difference between development and daycare. See, let's go chronologically, because the timeline itself exposes the contradiction. November 30th, 2023 at North Carolina. This one is important because it shows Staley's standard in real time. Lay plays early, struggles defensively, and Staley benches her the rest of the way because she was losing her man defensively. Now, peep the truth. That was a tight, ugly defensive game in a hostile building, and Lay was in it, and the moment demanded defense. That's late game education, even if you're sitting, because the lesson is your offense doesn't execute your defense when the game tightens up. That's not neglect. That's a blueprint. And then Lay responded exactly how a coach player responds. At Duke, 77-61 win. Game kind of got tight. South Carolina's official player bio literally documents the moment. She had a buzzer-beating 3 at the end of the first quarter. And when Duke had it tight in the fourth, she scored 6 of her 9 points. So 2 things can be true at once. She got benched for standards. Then she earned trust back in a pressure moment. That's a development cycle in public on national TV. December 10th, 2023 versus Utah, 78-69 win. This is where the late game combo gets sneaky because folks act like jump shots don't count as leverage. Utah had real defense and Lay went 3 for 3 from 3 in that game. That's not empty scoring. That's we need a bucket and we need it for somebody fearless. Fearless is a late game trait. January 25th, 2024 at LSU, 76-70 win. Now let's talk about Baton Rouge. South Carolina is down double digits. Jim loud, LSU feeling themselves. And Lay come in and flip momentum with a steal, layup, and 2 threes late in the second quarter to cut the deficit. So when somebody says she never had time score pressure reps, what do you call being down 11 in Baton Rouge and personally dragging the game back into range? Because that's not scrimmage energy. That's your whole season reputation is on the line energy. Now let's talk about the SEC tournament semifinal versus Tennessee. 1-point game. Tournament stakes is tense. The ESPN play-by-play literally shows Fulwiley in live possessions in that semifinal. South Carolina's bio season documentation has her producing in these pressure contexts. And then that game ends with Cardoso game winner. And who benefits from spacing and trust in those moments? The guard rotation that can be on the floor without melting. That's Lay. March 10th, 2024, SEC Tournament Championship versus LSU. 79-72 win. Now, this is the one that makes the Mulkey quote fall apart at the seams. Lay dropped 24 in the SEC title game against LSU. That's not participating. That's starring. That's not never in late game situations. That's I am the problem you can't solve. And if you watch that game, you know it wasn't just buckets. It was poise. It was control. It was responding to chaos. So tell me how a player can win the SEC tournament crown while cooking LSU and still be sold to somebody who never experienced late game pressure. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a marketing line. April 7th, 2024, National Championship versus Iowa, 87-75. And then we get to the biggest stage. South Carolina's bench outscored Iowa's bench 37-0 in the national title game. Lay was part of that bench identity, tempo changes, paint pressure, playmaking, stabilizing when Iowa tried to surge. So again, what is late game? Because if you've been on the floor in a national championship environment where every run matters and you're part of the unit that swings the whole vibe of the game, you've been in leverage, period. Now sophomore year is where Lay's role shifts. Freshman year, she's a spark. Sophomore year, she becomes a pressure button. We have multiple documented moments. November 10th, 2024 versus NC State, 71-57 win. That game was a top test early, and Lay put up 18 off the bench in a big matchup setting. Even NC State's recap notes South Carolina closed the game on a run. That's not never. That's in the mix in the moment, part of the closing math. November 24th, 2024 versus UCLA. 77-62 loss. And here's where people who actually respect coaching should pause. Lay plays 3 minutes, goes scoreless, and gets pulled. This is the part folks never want to talk about because it doesn't fit the superhero edit. Staley's program isn't built on favoritism. It's built on standards. If the matchup says you can't survive defensively or physically in that moment, Staley will pivot. That is not failure. That's real basketball. And the reason that matters is because it shows Lay didn't just get handed late game. She had to earn it, lose it, and re-earn it. That's development. See, that's what happened in South Carolina. January 27, 2025 at Tennessee, 70-63 win. And then she responds again. See, South Carolina recaps documents the sequence. Tennessee has momentum, and Lay hits it back-to-back threes that spark an 18-1 run. That's not early second quarter fluff. That's a momentum shift in a hostile rivalry gym where the crowd is ready to explode. If you could calm a building down with 2 shots, you have experienced leverage. February 9th, 2025 at Texas, 66-62 loss. This game ended a historic SEC regular season streak. Lay scores 13, and South Carolina's recap notes she scored 6 in the final quarter in limited minutes, while also leading with assists and steals. So again, time, score, pressure, hostile gym, ranked opponent, streak on the line. But we're supposed to believe she never experienced late game situations. Be serious. March 28, 2025, Sweet 16 versus Maryland, 71-67 win. Now this is the kill shot to the narrative. Lay scores 23, hits the go-ahead bucket late, and South Carolina's recap flat out says she put up 11 in the fourth quarter. 11 in the fourth in the Sweet 16 in a 4-point win. If that's not a late game on-court experience, then the frame has then the phrase has no meaning. And it wasn't just points. That game includes late free throws, late drives, late decision making, late defensive stands while Maryland got choked out scoreless for a stretch. That is literally the exact thing Mulkey described, which is why the quote is so wild, because the receipts don't even require interpretation. They are a direct contradiction. So what is Mulkey really doing here? Let's get into the psychology, because this is where the hypocrisy shows. If Mulkey wanted to say Lay wants to be the primary closer, she could have said that. If Mulkey wanted to say Lay wants to initiate offense in the last minute, she could have said that. If Mulkey wanted to say Lay wants to be the one the coach calls the set for, she could have said that. But she didn't. She used the most loaded framing possible. She has never been in late game situations on the court. And why do you do that? Because if you just say she wants more, everybody says South Carolina had a loaded rotation. That happens. But if you say she never got experience, you create a villain. You turn Coach Staley into the villain. You turn South Carolina into the villain. You position LSU as the savior. It's a recruitment flex wrapped in a backhand. And the hypocrisy is this. Mulkey is acting like South Carolina didn't prepare Lay, while benefiting from the fact that South Carolina did. Because what LSU is getting is not an untrained prospect. LSU is getting a player who already survived the accountability cycle, a player who already learned if you don't guard, you sit, a player who already learned if you respond, you play in the fourth, a player who already learned in March you don't get to be nervous, you get to be effective. That's Staley's work. So calling a program out while cashing the developmental check is nasty. And developmental check also belongs to Khadijah Sessions. That's like buying somebody's house and then insulting the builder. Coach Dawn Staley and Khadijah Sessions have never been the let's do it for aesthetics type coaches. Her program is built like a professional pipeline, which means the floor is earned, not gifted. And the UNC moment is the perfect example. She benched Lay early because defense matters more when the game tightens. Then she trusted her again in other pressure contexts. Duke, LSU, tournament play. That's how you develop a guard that doesn't crumble. Not by letting them freelance every possession. Not by letting highlight culture replace winning culture. And if anybody doubts Staley's approach, look at the pattern. Lay was not hidden in blowouts only. Lay was inserted in real pressure, pulled when necessary, and put back when she earned it. That's not lack of experience. That's curated experience. That's coaching, and is the exact reason Lay could walk into a Sweet 16 and score 11 in the fourth without shaking. So if Mulkey wants to play the South Carolina didn't do it game, the scoreboard of Lay's career says otherwise. The part nobody wants to say out loud. Let me say this, the quiet part with my whole chest. This is not just about Lay. This is about the obsession some people have with trying to shrink Coach Staley's credibility anytime somebody transfers out. Because when players transfer out of other programs, it's fit and opportunity. When players transfer out of South Carolina, people suddenly want to act like it's proof of failure. And that's ridiculous. South Carolina is deep. South Carolina recruits pros. South Carolina rotates bodies. South Carolina has standards. A player wanting a different role does not mean the program failed them. It often means the program elevated them to the point they can demand more. So when Mulkey frames it as never had late game experience, she's not just bigging LSU up. She's trying to devalue the factory so her product looks more exclusive. And it's unnecessary because LSU could have just said, we got a hooper. Instead, they tried to say we rescued a hooper. And that's where the hypocrisy lives. So here's where we land. Kim Mulkey said Fulwiley told her she's never been in late game time score moments on the court, and the receipts say Lay played pressure games as a freshman, including being benched for defense at North Carolina, then trusted again. Lay cooked LSU to win the SEC tournament title and dropped 24 in the final. Lay helped swing championship-level moments in the national title season. Lay hit leverage shots and sparked takeover runs in hostile gyms. Lay saved the Sweet 16 game with 11 in the fourth quarter and late free throws. So what we not doing never, we doing truth. If Lay wanted more, say that. If Lay wanted different, say that. But don't play in Coach Staley's face like she didn't build the version of Lay that LSU is now celebrating, because the film don't lie. And South Carolina development don't need defending. It needs respecting. All right, fam. Make sure you drop a comment with your thoughts on Kim Mulkey claiming MiLaysia Fulwiley never had late game on-court experience. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and share this video with someone who loves the game. Catch y'all next time on Cess Talk Sports, where we always bringing you the latest on the rising stars and legends in the making. Keep hooping. Stay tuned. Talk soon. I'm out.